What is going on, everybody? It is Dealing with DFS, and in today's video, going over my Week 16 cash plays for the main slate. So let's get into it. At quarterback, Jared Goff at 6,300 makes a lot of sense against a Pittsburgh team that's kind of played poorly lately defensively, dealing with some injuries. TJ Watt obviously out, but some other injuries in there. Detroit's at home in a dome. Big game for them. They have to continue to win. Because either the Packers or Bears are going to, one of them is going to guaranteed either get a win or tie, which tie likely, but one of them is probably going to win, right? So Jared Goff and them have to perform. I really like the pieces in Detroit other than Jared Goff as well. Like, I don't think having Jared Goff is a must, but if you want to stack up a team where you get that upside with Jared Goff having one of these really good games, a 25-plus point game, which you saw in a few of these games, because it's the same thing for Pittsburgh. They have to win, so it's a really good game environment. Next is Justin Herbert, 6K on the road against Dallas. Obviously, everything says to pay down at quarterback this week, but I think there's two really good options, and Herbert's and the other one against Dallas. Dallas dealing with some injuries as well. It looks like Williams is going to be in, which... if he was out, I definitely would have liked Herbert a whole lot more. We've kind of seen Herbert in the pass offense not needed as much and not utilized. But I will say they have played some tough defenses the last 2 weeks. I like this game. Like, even if Dallas is eliminated, right, let's say Philly wins today and Dallas has nothing else to play for, they're going to play for stats, right? They're going to play and say, hey, we're just going to be a competitive team. Obviously, a lot of them are going to be playing for awards, like Dak going for the most passing yards, money incentives, whatever. They're going to play to play. They're not going to say their season's done, what do we got left to play for? They're going to play to win and try to hurt the Chargers' chances this season. So at the same time, I like this game environment. I like the Chargers' offense at 6K. I think it's a really good bounce back spot for Herbert in that pass offense to see more of an uptick. Going down, we get Jacoby Brissett at 5,300, which is wild that he went down. He just went down in price. It was 5,800, then 57, then 55. Now he's down to 53 at home against Atlanta. Gets Marv back. The team has played very poorly, the team. But for fantasy, Jacoby Brissett continues to put really good performances out there. So for that aspect, he's kind of the other option. There's some other options down here, but I think we're going to save those for tournament. And we'll talk about that tomorrow. At running back, Devon Achane and Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs all on this slate make a lot of sense, but I prefer Bijan and Gibbs, seeing that Tua is not the quarterback, targets the running back quite a bit. But if you want to play the narrative, more people are going to play Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs than they are Devon Achane on this slate. So if you want some leverage as far as an ownership perspective, you could go that route and say, like, even if it's Ewers, maybe we see Achane continue to get some receiving work with Ewers, right? So it's not saying it's a guaranteed just a bad spot, because at the same time, they're playing Cincinnati's defense, which is the worst defense in football. We continue to go down. There's some interesting names. I would have liked Woody Marks, but Nick Chubb is back, and Woody Marks is still kind of banged up this week. But we go down. Judkins at 6K. Makes a whole hell of a lot of sense against Buffalo. Offensive line is healthier this week than they have been the last 2 weeks. So I think is a good option if you don't want to pay up for both those studs at running back. I think he's a good option to kind of pay down at 6K. And then going down, if you want to go Aaron Jones, you want to go Jordan Mason at their price points, go for it. I know it's going to be clicked a lot. Giants' run defense has been pretty damn bad lately. And then I'm going to throw him out there. Audric Estimate is 5,000 without Kamara, without Devin Neal. Like, the run game has not been good for New Orleans. You got used in the receiving game. 6.9 points in the receiving game for just the little amount of work he got at 5K. I don't hate it as well. And one more thing, I'll mention Kenneth Gainwell. I think Kenneth Gainwell, like, for cash, it's going to be very hard to click. But, I mean, he's putting up some Christian McCaffrey-type receiving numbers for this team. Like, doesn't have to get used on the ground, which Detroit plays running backs really good. He's being used in the pass game a lot lately. Like 4 out of his last 5 games, he's gotten 6 receptions. That is crazy. Obviously, he does need to pay off in that receiving game and possibly get a touchdown to pay off. But man, it's just the receiving work he's gotten lately has been crazy. So we'll move on to now wide receiver. If you want to get Amon-Ra at home against Pittsburgh, I'm all for it, right? I mentioned it's a must-win for Detroit. Amon-Ra just came off of one of his better performances. I do think it's very hard to play Amon-Ra and Gibbs on the slate. I think you need to choose one or the other, especially if you want to get Jared Goff as well. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to get both, Gibbs and Amon-Ra and not get Jared Goff. So I think that's where the decision comes into. Nico Collins, 7,500 yet again, I think is a really good cash play. Been playing some really good football. Obviously goes up in price quite a bit this week against Vegas. But I think Houston at home, Vegas has, I think, the lowest team implied total, one of the lowest team implied totals we've seen all season. So for that aspect, maybe Nico Collins gets 5 for 100 and a touchdown, and pays off in that aspect. So definitely like that one. Michael Wilson is 6,900. It's pretty hard to play him in cash. I don't think you need to stack anybody with Jacoby in cash. In tournaments, obviously, that's kind of where you want to go, is stack up Michael Wilson. But we're talking about cash, so I really don't like Michael Wilson in cash this week. If you want a cheaper piece, right, and make it work, getting Jameson Williams at 6,400 instead of Amon-Ra, I think is a route to go. Besides this dud, Jameson's put up some really, really good fantasy numbers, and he's paid off pretty much at this price point. Obviously, this is the highest that we've seen him, but I think it's a really good matchup for him. Price point's fine. Put up numbers at home, in dome, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to say it. People aren't going to love it, but I'm going to say it. Justin Jefferson's in my cash pool. I'm going to say it. He's too cheap. This game is meaningless for both teams, but we've seen the upside of both teams in this one. I'm fine with paying $6,000 for a receiver named Justin Jefferson. I'm going to say it. I'm fine with it. I think this is his bounce back spot in cash. I'm going for it. No one's going to pretty much play him, so I'm going to target him at that. Courtland Sutton at 5,700 at home against Jacksonville. Courtland Sutton and Bo Nix are getting a connection lately. Obviously, his price point's gone kind of down for the most part, right? We've seen him all the way up to 65. Now he's 5,700. Goes up from the last week against Green Bay. Gets a more favorable matchup against Jacksonville, who hasn't been the best in the pass defense. Like I said, the last 3 weeks, the connection's been there. 10 targets in the last 2 weeks, each one of those. So Courtland Sutton, I like a lot this week. I think he's a solid piece at 5,700 to get in a very healthy game script. Both teams kind of fighting for that number 1 spot in the AFC. DK Metcalf's a really good run back piece on the road against Detroit at 5,400. I think it's very easy to plug him in your lineups, especially if you are stacking Detroit. DK's put up a good amount of points lately, besides the game against Buffalo. But the game against Chicago, 14.4, game against Baltimore, 24, and game against Miami, 14. So he's kind of hitting that safety mark that you want at that 5,400 price tag. So continue to go down. I'm going to say Keenan Allen at 4,800. I truly do wish his snaps were up. Maybe we see Trey Harris, which we have seen Trey Harris's snap count go up a little more recently, and that's due to Quentin Johnston kind of being banged up. But for Keenan Allen in this matchup, I think it's a very cheap piece to stack with Herbert if you want that double stack and go, Ladd and Keenan Allen. I think it's a way to get different. So I like Keenan Allen in cash this week at 4,800. Adonai Mitchell, 4,500. Like, this guy stands out to me. He just gets a lot of targets. It is against New Orleans, who's played pretty good against the pass. But yet again, both teams, this is a meaningless game. At this point, you're playing for that number 1 pick, which teams aren't going to do. They're going to try to play to win. It doesn't matter if it's meaningless or not. For them, it is meaningful to get a win, to progress and develop, especially someone like Adonai Mitchell. But his target share has been ridiculous. So I think he's worth mentioning at 45. Xavier Worthy at 44. Yep, I'm going to mention him because the Kansas City This is what we look at in this Kansas City wide receiver room. Thornton is out. Rashee Rice is out. You get Juju, but he hasn't been meaningful. So you look at Hollywood Brown at 39, Xavier Worthy at 44. If you're looking for a pay down priced wide receiver, if you want to go Worthy, if you want to go Hollywood Brown, I'm fine with either of them. I think Gardner Minshew is serviceable enough to put someone like a Worthy or Hollywood Brown in cash in lineup. So if you want to go that route, go that route. Other than that, there's not a lot of value plays on this slate. Jalen Naylor, if you want to throw him out, he's had a couple good games this season. I prefer Justin Jefferson and going that route. But other than that, there's not a whole lot in cash. So I think kind of getting the Xavier Worthy or the Hollywood Brown is kind of where we're looking at. If it looks like London will be in, but if he's out, Mooney, I guess, with how bad Arizona's defense has been. And then tight ends. It's a bit tricky. We loved Kyle Pitts, but London looks like he might be back, right? There's always a chance he's not. But if London's back, I just can't trust Kyle Pitts alone anymore. If London was out, it's a different story. But I think if you want to go Kelsey at 4,700 on the road against Tennessee, I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like this is Kelsey's last ride. I feel like if they had a shot to win the Super Bowl again, maybe that discussion comes up. But I don't think Travis Kelce is going to want to go through a losing season and go on. Again, I think he calls it quits after the season. So for him to go out and on bang, Tennessee's been playing pretty bad against tight ends lately. They've played bad all season, but pretty bad against tight ends lately. So at 4,700 with Rashee Rice out, kind of look at Travis Kelce to step up. Fannin Jr., not a lot of people are going to appreciate Harold Fannin with Shedeur Sanders, but 25 targets the last 2 weeks for Harold Fannin. The thing that you gotta take into consideration is they are playing the best defense against tight ends. I think it's 7 points was the last I saw of DraftKings points per game to opposing tight ends. So you have to be cautious. Njoku's out. I believe Njoku's out, right? Yeah, Njoku's out. So you get Fannin at 4,500 alone again. I will mention Juwan Johnson at 4K. Vele is out. And yet again, I mentioned Juwan Johnson's just a solid piece enough for New Orleans. So I think he's worth targeting. And then Darren Waller, 3,500 at home against Cincy. Last week, saw that really good game. It's Quinn Ewers, so that is where the risk is going to be coming in. Obviously, we saw what Tua can provide for Darren Waller, a very successful time. But now with Ewers, maybe we see something different. And that's pretty much it at tight end. I think like Ingram's interesting, but I'd just rather have that conversation for tournaments than I would cash. Yeah, Texans defense at 4K if you want to go that route. Bills defense kind of makes sense as well. I'm not paying 3,400 for the Saints defense. I'm sorry, I'm just not. But at the cheap defense, Jets kind of make a lot of sense at 3,100 with the injuries going on in the Saints offense. They make a lot of sense. So that's kind of where I'm at, is going the Jets. If you want to have a conversation for the Titans defense, that's fine as well. Other than that, there's not a lot that I'm really looking at. So let's do an example lineup. I am going to put the Jets defense in there. I am going to build off of Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs. I think having them both is really good. At wide receiver, what can we do? Let's go with... There's nobody up there that I really like. Let's get tight end as well. Let's put Waller and see what we could build off of there. At wide receiver, let's go a Courtland Sutton. And let's go a DK Metcalf. He makes sense. Quarterback, we're probably paying down for quarterback on this one, so let's just go Jacoby. And then let's do this because I did mention I liked him. Let's go Anodyne Mitchell. And then 6,300, we could go with a Judkins at 6K and kind of do that. So I get Bijan Gibbs, and then it's a balanced build from there. So yeah, I don't mind this lineup at all, right? I get a part of Detroit's offense. I get a run back piece in DK Metcalf. I get the most consistent fantasy quarterback we've had this season in Jacoby Brissett. Get Cortland Sutton in a, race for first place type of game against Jacksonville, who's been pretty bad in the pass defense. Like I said, DK Metcalf as the run back piece there. Bijan kind of is same thing, run back piece for Jacoby, and then Gibbs, DK, get Mitchell and the Jets defense against New Orleans, get Judkins at home against Buffalo, and then Darren Waller against Cincinnati's defense. So this is a lineup I truly do really, really like. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.